Most people think determination is something you're either born with or forever missing, like a talent given only to a chosen few. But that belief is false. Discipline isn't a destiny, it's a decision. It's something you cultivate, moment by moment, through deliberate choices and repeated practice. It's not about waiting for inspiration to strike. It's about training yourself to act whether you feel like it or not. Picture this. Every morning you wake up with good intentions. You tell yourself that today you'll finally exercise, that today you'll eat well, that today you'll put energy into your dreams. You imagine yourself following through, building momentum, changing your life. But as the day passes, little distractions creep in. The mind starts whispering excuses. You can do it tomorrow. You've earned a break. It's okay to skip just once. And before you know it, the sun sets, and you've slipped back into the same habits, wondering why change feels so hard. Here's the truth. Nothing is wrong with you. You're not lazy, you're not broken, and you don't lack potential. What's missing is the daily practice of discipline. And once you understand that this skill is something you can train, everything changes. Discipline isn't punishment. It's not about restricting your life or cutting out joy. It's the opposite. Discipline is freedom. It's the ability to take command of your time, your actions, and your future. When you develop discipline, you step into control of your destiny instead of being controlled by short-term urges. Think of it like this. Every time you choose the harder but better option, you're strengthening an invisible muscle. Each moment of following through, waking up early, saying no to distractions, sticking to your commitments, is like lifting weights for your character. At first, it feels uncomfortable. Just like the gym, the first few reps are heavy, awkward, maybe even painful. But with repetition, what once felt impossible becomes effortless. That's why successful people in every field, whether it's Serena Williams on the tennis court, Elon Musk building companies, or Malala Yousafzai fighting for education, have one thing in common: discipline. Not luck, not talent alone, not perfect circumstances. It's their ability to do the work, consistently, long after the excitement has faded. Here's the secret. You don't need to transform overnight. You don't need to change everything all at once. Real growth begins with small, consistent actions. Maybe it's making your bed each morning. Maybe it's reading just one page of a book every day. Maybe it's committing to 10 minutes of exercise before breakfast. The size of the action doesn't matter. What matters is that you show up for yourself. Most people wait for motivation. They wait for the perfect mood, the perfect timing, the perfect spark of energy. But motivation is like the weather. It changes constantly. Some days it's sunny, some days it's stormy, and if you rely on it, your progress will stop every time the skies turn gray. Discipline, on the other hand, is like having your own engine. It doesn't matter what's happening outside. You keep moving forward. This is why systems are stronger than goals. A goal says, I want to lose weight, or I want to write a book. But a system says, I exercise every day, or I sit down and write at 7 a.m. Systems turn dreams into habits, and habits create results. Think about J.K. Rowling writing the first Harry Potter novel. She didn't wait for inspiration every day. She sat down, often in cafes, writing consistently even when she didn't feel like it. Or consider Michael Jordan. He didn't become the greatest basketball player of all time by practicing only when he was motivated. He trained relentlessly, day after day, whether he felt tired, uninspired, or unstoppable. That's discipline in action. And here's something powerful. Discipline compounds. Each small act builds momentum. When you stick to your plan one day, it becomes easier to stick to it the next. Each choice is like casting a vote for the person you want to become. Do enough repetitions, and eventually, discipline isn't just something you practice. it becomes part of who you are. At its core, discipline is about identity. If you see yourself as someone unreliable, someone who can't stick to things, your actions will reflect that. But when you begin to see yourself as a reliable, consistent, focused individual, your behavior shifts to match that identity. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to work out," you say, "I'm the type of person who takes care of my body." Instead of saying, "I want to be disciplined," you say, "I am a disciplined person." The difference may seem small, but it's life-changing. Your actions flow from how you see yourself, and every small victory reinforces that identity. So let me remind you, discipline isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about progress. It's about building trust with yourself, step by step, until you believe deeply that you can count on yourself to follow through. That's when the doors open. That's when possibilities multiply. That's when the life you imagine stops being a dream and starts becoming your reality. Inside every one of us, there's a voice that resists progress. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It says things like, "Rest today, you've earned it," or "Start tomorrow, today's already too late." That inner voice sounds gentle, even protective, but its mission is to hold you back. And if you listen too long, it becomes the strongest chain keeping you from the life you deserve. The good news, that voice isn't you. It's just resistance. It's habit. And the moment you realize you don't have to obey it, you take back your power. When you commit to discipline, you'll notice this resistance gets louder. It tries harder to convince you to quit. That's not a sign of weakness. It's proof that you're winning. Every time you ignore the excuses and take action anyway, you grow stronger. Just like steel is shaped in fire, your character is forged in those moments when you keep going despite the temptation to stop. This is why starting small is so powerful. If your goal is to exercise for an hour, the voice of resistance will have plenty to say. But if your commitment is just one push-up, the excuses lose their power. One push-up takes seconds. One push-up requires no equipment. One push-up is always possible. And here's the magic. Once you start, momentum carries you forward. One push-up becomes 5. 5 becomes 10. Before long, you've done the workout you thought you couldn't handle. Every time you honor even the smallest promise to yourself, you rebuild trust. And that trust matters, because the real battle isn't against laziness or distraction. It's about proving to yourself that your word means something. When you keep promises to yourself, no matter how small, you create evidence that you are reliable. And that changes everything. History's greatest thinkers understood this. The ancient Stoics taught that self-mastery is the path to true freedom. They believed the strongest person isn't the one who controls others, but the one who controls themselves. That truth still holds today. If you can't direct your own mind, the world will direct it for you. Here's the paradox. The more you practice discipline, the freer you become. When you can say no to distractions, you gain the ability to say yes to opportunities. When you can control your impulses, you earn control over your destiny. Many people think freedom means doing whatever you want, whenever you want. But that kind of freedom is a trap. It leaves you at the mercy of every passing mood. Real freedom is the ability to act in alignment with your values, regardless of how you feel in the moment. And here's where things get exciting. Discipline doesn't just affect one part of your life. It spreads. When you train yourself to be consistent in one area, that strength shows up everywhere else. Someone who learns to manage their health often finds it easier to manage their finances. Someone who builds the discipline to study daily often discovers the same focus helps them in relationships, in work, in creative projects. Discipline compounds across domains. Look at the world's most successful people. Dwayne Johnson didn't build his career by working hard only in the gym. His consistency in training spilled into his acting, his businesses, his entire lifestyle. Oprah Winfrey didn't rise to global influence by relying on motivation. She practiced consistency, building trust with herself and her audience over decades. That's the ripple effect of discipline. It multiplies. Every choice to follow through, no matter how small, strengthens your entire identity. But here's what most people get wrong. They expect discipline to feel good at the start. They believe it should be effortless, exciting, even fun. And when it feels uncomfortable, they think they're failing. The truth, growth is never comfortable in the beginning. It feels awkward, like wearing shoes that don't quite fit. But if you push through the early resistance, something incredible happens. The hard becomes easy. The uncomfortable becomes natural. And what once took all your willpower soon becomes part of who you are. Think of learning a language. At first, it feels clumsy, unnatural, even embarrassing. But with practice, words flow. Discipline is the same. What feels heavy today will feel light tomorrow. What feels impossible now will feel natural later, if you stay consistent. So here's the key. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Start where you are. Do what you can. Keep the promise, even if it's small. Every action, every repetition, every choice is building the future version of you. And remember this, the weight of discipline is light compared to the weight of regret. Every time you choose the easy road, you add to the burden of missed opportunities, lost potential, and unfulfilled dreams. But every time you choose discipline, you choose growth, pride, and possibility. The world doesn't need a perfect version of you. It needs the committed version of you. The one who shows up daily, who builds momentum, who grows stronger with every small win. That's how transformation begins. Not with one giant leap, but with one consistent step. Most people try to change their behavior without changing how they see themselves. They tell themselves, "I'm trying to quit procrastinating," or "I'm trying to be more disciplined." But here's the truth. Behavior always follows identity. If you believe you're someone who struggles, your actions will match that belief. Lasting change happens when you stop trying and start becoming. Instead of saying, "I want to get fit," you say, "I'm an athlete in training." Instead of saying, "I'm trying to write a book," you say, "I'm a writer who writes daily." Instead of saying, "I'm trying to be disciplined," you declare, "I am a disciplined person." This shift in language creates a shift in mindset. Your brain starts aligning with your new identity, and your actions naturally follow. Each choice reinforces who you believe you are. Every healthy meal strengthens the identity of someone who values their body. Every completed task confirms you're a focused, reliable person. Each disciplined action is a vote for the future you're becoming. Think about how professional athletes operate. Usain Bolt didn't see himself as someone trying to run fast. He was a runner. Simone Biles didn't say, "I'm hoping to be a gymnast." She lived as one. Their actions weren't occasional efforts. They flowed from their identity. That's why they trained through exhaustion, through setbacks, through days when the world wasn't watching. Your actions are most powerful when they are consistent with who you believe yourself to be. And the best part, you get to choose that identity at any moment. You don't need years of proof before you call yourself disciplined. You don't need a medal before you call yourself an athlete. You simply start acting in alignment with who you want to become, and over time, reality catches up with belief. But identity doesn't change overnight. It grows from repetition. Every small win is evidence. Every push-up is proof. Every page written is a brick in the foundation of your new self. That's why the process matters more than perfection. You don't need flawless execution. You just need to keep voting for the person you want to be. And here's the secret most people miss. The first phase of building discipline is the hardest. Not because you can't do it, but because you're breaking old patterns. You're rewiring years of habits. That's why the start feels unnatural, even painful. But every repetition weakens the old identity and strengthens the new one. Keep going, and one day you'll look back and realize you no longer have to force it. Discipline isn't something you practice. It's who you are. And that's when everything changes. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop battling over whether you'll take action today. You act because that's simply what you do. You train because you're the type of person who trains. You follow through because you're the kind of person who keeps promises. You persist because resilience is your nature. But here's something important. The world will test this new identity. Life has a way of throwing obstacles right when you feel strongest. That's not bad news. It's an opportunity. Challenges are the exams of growth. They ask you, are you truly committed, or was this just a phase? When setbacks come, and they will, you have a choice. You can see them as proof that change is impossible, or you can see them as fuel to grow stronger. Remember, a storm doesn't destroy the oak tree. It deepens its roots. The same is true for you. Every challenge is training for greater strength. Every obstacle you overcome is evidence that your new identity is real. And here's a mindset shift that makes all the difference. Stop wishing for an easier path. Wish for stronger legs. Don't ask for fewer problems. Develop more skills. Don't hope for less resistance. Build greater persistence. That's how you transform difficulties into advantages. In fact, discipline makes you what psychologists call anti-fragile. Fragile things break under pressure. Strong things withstand it. But anti-fragile things actually get better under pressure. That's what happens to you when you embrace discipline. Stress no longer crushes you. It shapes you. Resistance no longer weakens you. It strengthens you. That's why disciplined people don't fear challenges. They welcome them. They see them as proof of progress, as opportunities to grow, as reminders that they're becoming unstoppable. They understand that the fire of adversity isn't meant to destroy, it's meant to refine. So ask yourself, who are you becoming? What identity are you reinforcing with your choices today? Because every action is either evidence for the old you or the new you. And the beauty is, you decide which one to feed. Every great story of transformation has one common thread: obstacles. No one ever reached greatness without first being tested. The path to mastery is never smooth. It's filled with setbacks, delays, and moments that tempt you to quit. But here's the truth. Those moments aren't there to stop you. They're there to shape you. When Thomas Edison was inventing the light bulb, he didn't see his thousands of failed attempts as failures. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Every so-called failure was simply information, feedback, that brought him one step closer to success. That's how disciplined people view setbacks, not as signs they should stop, but as stepping stones that prove they're moving forward. Imagine lifting weights. If you only ever lifted what was easy, your muscles would never grow. The challenge, the resistance, is what makes you stronger. Life works the same way. Every obstacle you face is training. Every challenge is resistance that builds your discipline muscle. And here's the shift. Instead of asking, "Why me?" start asking, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of seeing obstacles as blocks in the road, see them as teachers, guiding you toward greater strength, patience, and resilience. Take J.K. Rowling, who received rejection after rejection before Harry Potter was published. Or Walt Disney, who was told he lacked imagination before building one of the most creative empires in history. They didn't let setbacks define them. They used them as fuel. That's what discipline gives you, the ability to persist when others would stop. And let's talk about resilience. Resilience isn't about never falling. It's about how quickly you rise after a fall. It's about refusing to let one defeat turn into permanent surrender. Every comeback story begins with a decision. The decision to keep going, no matter what. This is where your discipline becomes your anchor. When life feels chaotic, when everything seems uncertain, discipline keeps you steady. It's the daily practice, the consistent habits, the small actions that ground you. While others get swept away by circumstances, you stand firm because you've trained yourself to act regardless of the storm. And the best part? With each challenge you overcome, your confidence grows. You start building a track record of victories, big and small. That evidence becomes your fuel. You don't just believe you can overcome obstacles. You know you can, because you've done it before. That's why disciplined people seem unshakable. They're not immune to struggle. They've just trained themselves to push through it. They've learned that adversity isn't the enemy of success. It's the pathway to it. Here's something powerful. Life doesn't test you to break you. It tests you to reveal you, to bring out strengths you didn't know you had, to stretch your limits and show you just how much you're capable of. Think of it like the forging of a sword. The blade isn't strong until it's been through fire, hammered, and refined. Without pressure, without heat, it would remain weak metal. But after the fire, it becomes unbreakable. The same process happens in you. Every trial you endure, every challenge you embrace, is shaping you into someone tougher, wiser, and stronger than before. So instead of avoiding difficulty, lean into it. See resistance as a gift. See setbacks as stepping stones. See challenges as invitations to rise higher. Because here's the truth. Greatness is never built in comfort. Comfort feels good in the moment, but it doesn't create strength. Struggle does. Discipline does. Choosing the harder path today makes tomorrow easier. And when you live this way, something shifts. You stop fearing the unknown. You stop doubting whether you can handle what comes next. You know that whatever life throws at you, you'll adapt, you'll grow, and you'll rise stronger. That's why the most disciplined people don't pray for an easy life. They pray for the strength to handle a challenging one, because they know the size of your growth is directly tied to the size of the challenges you're willing to face. So the next time life pushes against you, don't shrink back. Push harder. See it as proof that you're leveling up. See it as confirmation that you're on the right path, because every challenge you embrace is carving out the strongest, most unstoppable version of you. Discipline on its own is powerful, but when you connect it to a deeper purpose, it becomes unstoppable. Willpower can carry you for a while, but purpose gives you endless fuel. It transforms discipline from something you have to do into something you want to do. Think about it. Waking up early, just for the sake of waking up, can feel like a chore. But waking up early, because you're building a future for your family, that gives meaning to the sacrifice. Eating clean isn't just about looking good. It's about honoring your health, staying strong for decades, and living long enough to see your dreams fulfilled. Purpose turns ordinary actions into acts of devotion. Look at parents who work multiple jobs to provide for their children. Look at athletes who train through pain, not just for medals, but to represent their country, their community, or a cause bigger than themselves. Look at leaders like Nelson Mandela, who endured years of hardship not for personal gain, but for the freedom of his people. When discipline serves a higher mission, it doesn't just last, it thrives. That's why finding your why is crucial. Surface-level goals like money, recognition, or status can motivate you temporarily, but they fade when challenges arise. Deeper motivations, love, service, legacy, faith, contribution, these create an inner fire that no setback can extinguish. Ask yourself, why does your discipline matter? What bigger picture are you serving? Maybe it's proving to yourself that you won't waste your potential. Maybe it's being strong enough to inspire your children. Maybe it's building a business that allows you to help others. Maybe it's simply becoming the kind of person your younger self would look up to. When your discipline is tied to purpose, everything changes. Obstacles no longer feel like punishments, they feel like part of the mission. Sacrifice doesn't feel like loss, it feels like investment. Challenges don't drain you, they energize you, because you know what you're fighting for. And here's the beauty. Purpose doesn't have to be massive to be meaningful. You don't need to change the entire world. You just need a reason that matters deeply to you. Something that keeps you moving forward when the excitement fades. Think of Malala Yousafzai. As a teenager, she risked everything to pursue education for girls. Her why was clear: to give others opportunities that were being denied. Or think of Steve Jobs, who poured discipline into building Apple, not just to sell products, but to put a dent in the universe. These people didn't rely on fleeting motivation. They were driven by vision, by purpose. And here's something powerful. When your purpose is greater than yourself, your discipline becomes limitless. Because it's no longer about you, it's about something bigger. You're not just exercising. You're building the energy to serve others. You're not just working late. You're creating something that outlives you. You're not just practicing consistency. You're honoring the gifts you've been given. This connection to purpose transforms effort into joy. Instead of saying, "I have to work out," you say, "I get to strengthen my body so I can live fully." Instead of saying, "I have to study," you say, "I get to learn skills that will change lives." Instead of saying, "I have to stay disciplined," you say, "I get to become the person I was born to be." And here's the secret to long-term success: renewal. Even the most disciplined people regularly revisit their purpose. They reflect, they realign, they reconnect to their why. Just like a company reviews its mission, you must remind yourself of the bigger picture behind your actions. This keeps your fire burning, even through routine and repetition. So ask yourself often, what am I building? Who am I serving? What legacy am I creating? The answers will keep you grounded, focused, and strong when the path feels long. Because, in the end, discipline is not just about what you achieve. It's about who you become and what impact you leave behind. When you align your actions with a purpose bigger than yourself, you tap into a source of energy that never runs out. By now, you know the truth. Discipline is the ultimate key. It's not talent, not luck, not circumstances. It's the consistent choice to show up, day after day, regardless of how you feel. And when you master discipline, you don't just achieve more. You become more. Every act of discipline is an act of self-creation. Every time you choose the long-term win over the short-term temptation, you're sculpting your character. Every time you follow through on your word, you're building trust in yourself. Every time you rise after a setback, you're proving that you cannot be broken. And here's the most beautiful part. With time, discipline stops being something you fight for. It becomes who you are. You no longer have to force yourself to take action. You no longer negotiate with excuses. You act because discipline has become your nature. You've evolved into someone who doesn't just dream. You does. Someone who doesn't just wish. They build. Someone who doesn't just imagine. They become. This is the transformation discipline offers. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about stepping into the strongest version of yourself. The version that lives with clarity, confidence, and purpose. The version that others look to for inspiration, leadership, and strength. Think about the ripple effect. When you develop discipline, it doesn't just change your life. It changes the lives around you. Your consistency inspires others. Your growth gives others permission to grow. Your example shows what's possible. That's how movements are born, how families are transformed, how legacies are created. Through one disciplined choice at a time. And here's the ultimate truth. The life you dream of is not waiting for luck or a perfect moment. It's waiting for your discipline. Every goal you've ever imagined, every potential you've ever felt inside you, every version of yourself you've wanted to step into, it all becomes real the moment you commit to consistent action. So now, the choice is yours. You can keep living the way you always have, letting excuses, comfort, and old patterns dictate your life. Or you can decide that today is the turning point. Decide that you will no longer be ruled by feelings, but by values. Decide that you are ready to step into the life you were meant to live. Because the truth is this: the weight of discipline is light, but the weight of regret is unbearable. The cost of consistency is small, but the reward is limitless. So choose discipline. Choose growth. Choose to become unstoppable. The future is waiting. The world is waiting. Your best self is waiting. The question is, will you step forward?